the young people are using this word called bussin'. I'm learning how to use it.
Come on, you little
Bastard.
booger. Come on,
You
booger.
get here. You get here.
Load, you booger.
Did you read the Kenny Mayne article?
Oh, I forgot to tell. That was fantastic.
Isn't it something? Wasn't that amazing? Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want to compare that to someone who you may be talking to in terms of, it's just kind of, that's it. There's just nowhere to go.
It was brilliant.
It's done. I mean, it really, and I'm not comparing myself to him, but, good for him. Just fuck it. Good for him. He's got plenty of money. You don't have to worry about him.
He even admits, like, well, I wasn't as brave as Jamel Hill was. I wasn't. I was out there potting, and now it's like I can do whatever.
That's like me. I wasn't as brave as Bill Flynn. I was not as brave as Bill Flynn.
Well, who is? I mean, that really is the standard.
What can I say?
The things he was, the things he was saying were so brave.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Glad you realize it, you enabler.
Oh, the balls on that guy.
Okay. All right. Look, I got my Panthers cup of water here.
Oh, you're ready to go for football season, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Hours away from football season, everybody.
I can't wait for that guy to make a good play on that team.
Yeah, the tall fellow? Right. Sure.
Yeah, that guy. Okay, get rid of that. We're ready?
We are.
We are ready. It is the Brad and Britt cast. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's our last one of this shortened week because of Labor Day, but that's all right because we're here now. You
seem to be full of energy. You seem to have a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. We'll see if we can just strip that out of you before we get out of this thing.
Oh, you got 5 minutes?
I'm wearing my Raiders hat. You said you had your Carolina Panthers cup. It is the first day of the NFL season. Do you feel like the NFL season and perhaps college football will be paused or at least something? What do you think is going to happen? Do you have any predictions as far as that, as far as the Delta variant goes?
It's hard to know. I wonder if they're taking odds where you can bet on anything, like in Ireland, because I don't think they would have this up on the boards in casinos in the United States, or on which will be the first team to forfeit a game.
Jeez.
Okay.
Interesting.
Right. Because if there would be names that have been popping up over the last few weeks. It'd be one team that would be terribly under-vaccinated, and then that would go, and then some other team would come up. So let's just throw darts at the dartboard. Who do you think it'll be? I'm just going to pick without knowing anything. I'm going to pick Houston as the team. I don't know why.
I'll go up the road a little bit and say the Dallas Cowboys for no reason at all, other than I'm just kind of speculating on that. I'll just say it's Dallas. Okay. It doesn't, and you're seeing some of these frightening pictures from college football with people stacked on top of each other, et cetera, et cetera. It just seems like there is not an appetite right now to stop things, and things have not gotten bad enough. It would seem in some places, and I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what bad enough looks like in order to say we probably need to stop killing people in mass.
We talked about this the other day. I don't know if it was on the previous or the one before that, where here it is a year later, and objectively we should have been, and we thought we would be done with this when the vaccine came along, which we were all really, really hoping for. Because remember where we were exactly a year ago, besides in the middle of the presidential election. There was no vaccine yet. And I don't think at this point, the beginning of September, that they had even announced the vaccine. I'm not sure that they, stuff was getting canceled. The NBA season had been delayed. All that kind of crap was going on. The NFL powered through their season. Here it is a year later, and things are actually objectively worse, except that 60 to 70% of the country is vaccinated. Maybe another 10% has gotten one shot or something like that. And then you have the rest of the country that's completely idiotic and is fucking things up for everyone else and clogging up the hospitals and making this very, very difficult, to the point where the president has to go in front of the country on Thursday, which is today as we speak, and announce things that I wish he would have done weeks and months ago, which is, number one, every goddamn federal worker, get your ass vaccinated or go find a new job. I wish you would have done that. And it doesn't even include the famous, you have to be vaccinated or show us a COVID test from the last 40. Fuck that, because that does not mean anything, because you could have a positive outcome on your COVID test, which means negative, which means you don't have it. You could have had a good test 48 hours ago. And since then, you may have either been exposed, or you may have been exposed before and it didn't show up on that test yet. And so this whole testing backup thing was just bullshit. It was just an attempt to assuage, again, the morons that are ruining the country, the unvaccinated and the vaccine refuseniks, which again, I should take out a copyright on that. I've seen nobody run with that word. I think it's such a great word, refuseniks. It's perfect. It's perfect. And of course, it's stolen from the old Soviet Union, right? Yeah. The people who resisted communism were called refuseniks. Right. Okay. But anyway, how's it going to affect sports? I think college is going to be affected way, way more, because you have those people who are college football players who we think of as isolated from the camp. They're different. Always, they've never been. But you know what? You can't really prevent that in the broadest sense. And if everybody isn't vaccinated on these football teams, I think they're really, really vulnerable. Which, by the way, if I can detour us right here to North Carolina, we got the numbers, and it's kind of national news, because every other state can look at this and probably say, yeah, us too. 45% of all the COVID-19 clusters in North Carolina in middle and high school, the ones that have been measured since July, have been among sports teams. North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and they're seeing a sharp increase in clusters on all sports teams. And this is even though stuff didn't really begin until August for a lot of these schools so what does that tell you? What does that tell? But it tells you that we go back a couple of days ago when we said we are at that point where God damn it, we're going back to school. We are not going to let this stop us this time. We shut everything down the last time, which, by the way, we didn't shut everything down this time. That only applies to when you're campaigning and lying about Gavin Newsom in California as if he shut down everything all at the same time. But we'll get to Gavin Newsom and throw some eggs at that story. See what I did there?
I see what you did.
Later on. Yeah, it's a setup. That's a setup. So I don't have an answer except to say what we were saying again a year and a half ago, which is, if we're going to beat this was without the vaccine, we're really going to have to put our noses to the grindstone collectively and do the things that we know that work. And back then it was just social distancing, masks, wash your hands and wash your ass, or whatever, all those kind of things. And that was before the vaccine. And those methods did work when they were diligently applied in a lot of situations among schools that stayed open but did masking before the vaccine, they did power through relatively well, right? They did. And now you have the vaccine where theoretically those kind of schools should have all the adults, all the people over 12, right? Over 12 vaccinated. And by the way, thumbs up to LA for saying, that's it, game over. Everybody who goes to Los Angeles public schools over the age of 12 and all the staff, everybody has to be vaccinated. Everybody. And that's Los Angeles. Must be the second or third biggest school district. It's huge. And they're saying that's it. But then on the other hand, can I take the Fox News right-wing view of that? It's typical California. What do they know? They don't believe in freedom out there.
It's like a bowl of cereal. Do you know that? California's like that.
Yeah, fruits and nuts and blah, 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 blah. Thank you, Archie Bunker Jr.
I made that up. I'm the one that invented that. I'm the one that invented.
By the way, By the way,
I also invented. I don't like cocaine. I like the smell of it. That was me. I came up with that.
I got one that's way worse than that. This is even worse because I like to run through a lot of political cartoons. I throw them up on my Facebook page, and on Wednesday, I found a cartoon. The guy drew it as Gladys Kravitz and her husband, the neighbors on Bewitched.
There's a reference. Yeah, sure.
Right. Okay. That is the most narrow pop culture reference. What the hell was his name? Her name was Gladys, and his name was shit. I can't even remember.
I can't even remember.
Damn it. Yes. I mean, I could look on my Facebook page and find
Abner
and Gladys Kravitz. Okay. And they're looking through the wind because the bit on the show on Bewitched was she kept seeing everything that Samantha was doing. Remember?
Right.
She would see all and she would tell her husband, and he'd never believe her.
Right.
He thought
and they go try to prove it, and she'd look like 10 pounds of ass is what would happen.
Right. So she's looking through. Anyway, I don't know why I brought that. It doesn't matter.
Hang on, I'm about to show it. There it is.
Oh. There it is.
So according to the Texas abortion law, I have to split the $10,000 with the rapist. That's actually a pretty good. Okay, now I take back everything I said about it being an outdated cultural reference.
It's a really kind of.
It's a good bit.
Just skillful drawing of people that nobody knows who they are unless you're old or unless you watch.
Well, there has been
that runs BBCast.
Yeah, there has been a resurgence. There are some younger people that are discovering things like Bewitched on those sub channels, like you talk.
I know, but you can't. I don't think you can go by that whole thing. That's like
I'm not saying
vinyl records are back. That's like saying vinyl records are back. No, they're not. They are not, and they're not coming back. Just because they're a niche and somebody writes an article about it in Rolling Stone every.
I'm not saying there's not. It's not a massive number. It's not like a huge, but there's some people, the kids are like, oh, what is this Happy Days thing? And they'll watch the thing and they think it's very interesting. But no, it's not. No, but this is the easiest prediction of all time. This was like a day ago on WREL in Raleigh, a UNC doctor predicting September COVID surge coming up after Labor Day. I mean, that's like one of the easiest predictions of all time, right?
Yeah, that's too stupid to talk about because it's too obvious. Let's move on. No, there's nothing else to say.
No, it's fair. It's fair to say. It's just the people just don't give a shit about the numbers right now. The numbers just don't mean anything.
That's like some people. That's like I saw this morning. It's if things don't change, the number could be 690,000 deaths by November 1st.
Right.
Really? How could you figure that out? Let's see. Week 1,500 times 36 days. I mean, stop doing that. It's pointless. You're right. The numbers mean nothing.
Right.
Now, if the first 600,000 didn't get you off your ass and get vaccinated, the next 100,000, that's nothing. Right? Nothing.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Let me give you some choices here.
Sure.
Larry Elder and the Egg. Trump and General Lee. And Patton Oswalt and the anti-vaxxers.
Oh, let me
Larry Elder and the Egg. Trump and General Lee. Patton Oswalt and the anti-vaxxers.
I do want to do door number one with this California recall and apparently the soon-to-be new governor of California, Larry Elder.
Mm-hmm. All right, and let me. I normally don't do this, but when I do a deep dive, which means I spent a lot of time writing about this earlier today, I want to kind of reference myself here because here's what happened. Larry Elder is making an appearance in Southern California. This is in Venice, California. A lot of homeless people there, and coming up from behind him is from the back left side is some woman on a scooter, and she's wearing a gorilla mask. I mean, and it's an exaggerated black-faced gorilla mask, and she tosses an egg at Larry Elder. Now, I first had this brought to my attention with a Fox News alert. And then I found, hang on, let me don't. And then that was followed up, about 2 hours later by another story from Fox News. Here's how the media is covering they're ignoring it. They're not talking about it. And of course, that's not true, but that fits what they always like to say when a conservative, in this case, a black conservative, which is, that's the golden ticket, right? When a black conservative can be made to appear to be the victim of racism by the liberals who are the real racists, right? Because whoever this woman was, and again, my noticing this, tell me if I'm wrong, this woman just hasn't been identified yet. We don't know who she is. Of course, she did speed away at 170 miles an hour on a fucking little scooter. How can you ever find out who she is, right? Be impossible, right? So we don't know who she is. But this is what got my attention, and this is almost counterintuitive, because the first version of the story, headline on the Fox website was Larry Elder egged by woman in gorilla mask, in quotes the word racist, in quotes racist attack in California. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. From the Fox point of view, trying to push the fact that Larry Elder was the victim of liberal racism, why did you put racist in quotes? It really was racist, wasn't it? Yeah, because usually you do that, right? Sure. When you're trying to defend a right-winger attacking a liberal, and they are falsely accused of racism, so you put the word racist in quotes to defend the... So that, I can't quite figure out where they're going with that. But beyond that, they don't examine, and because we don't know the identity, and apparently no one seems to want to care about the identity of the person, I am going to claim, until proven wrong, that this was a false flag. That this was a put-up job by Larry Elder.
She was a very peaceful protester. She was an extremely peaceful protester.
Right, but now here, and here's the reason that I'm saying it, because it's the Trump playbook. The Trump playbook is this: you do something ridiculous, or you have it done to you, right? And then you claim victimhood, and then it goes viral, and then you comment on it, and you quote unquote stoke your base. Unfortunately for Larry Elder, he has no base. Okay, he doesn't really have a base of support. He's just got whatever percent of Republicans who might be voting for him in California, and it's probably not going to reach past 20 or 25% of the total vote that's coming in. But I just wonder why, whenever it's in the reverse direction, the first thing that is claimed is it was a false flag. When a right winger does something, the liberals really did this. It was right. It was Antifa, right? Yeah, it was Antifa and Black Lives Matter that attacked the Capitol on January 6th, right?
Correct.
False flag. They posed as Trump supporters, right? And of course, that was bullshit. And what I'm saying is probably bullshit, but I'm not going to give it up till we find out who she is and what it's all about. But either way, of course, it's wrong to be throwing eggs at anybody. at anybody at any time under any circumstance.
You're
no
more of
matter
a
what
pie guy.
color
You
they
like
are
it. You
and
like it when you
right.
throw the pies at people. That's more of your
No,
MO.
no, I don't like it. I don't like anything that's because you just never know. You could put some kind of acid inside the pie, and the person goes blind. You can't do it. Physical assault should not be part of the American political process.
Shouldn't
it
be.
just shouldn't.
Shouldn't be. This is the headline. By the way, the pernicious headline on Fox News is California Governor Newsom is silent on the quote-unquote racist elder egg attack. Now, they're still having the word racist is still in quotations, but the problem here is that Governor Newsom has not condemned it. And you see the subheadline, Representative Crenshaw blasts the liberal media for zero condemnation or coverage of egg attack. So there's no coverage of it at all, and the media has failed to condemn it as well, Brad.
And that's not true. I'm sure, and I haven't even looked. I haven't looked at the LA Times.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, the LA Times has the story.
Well,
I guarantee you, the TV stations in California.
Yeah, I just posted something from the CBS affiliate in LA. So yes, they absolutely
there it is.
Have the story. I mean, there's no question about it.
But Britt, if that isn't out of the playbook, which is falsely accusing, everyone but right-wing media of not covering something that they actually did cover. But remember, that just plays beautifully to the Fox, Trump, right-wing, Larry Elder audience, because they always want to believe that. They always want to believe that it would be as if at this moment, and you'll notice there isn't very much attempt to even do this because it wouldn't be true, but they could probably try to get away with it. Liberal media refuses to criticize Joe Biden on anything. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He's getting killed. How about this one, Britt? Try this one. Liberal media refuses to report on Biden's plunging poll numbers. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Nobody's aware of it. Nobody's aware of it.
Right.
They gave him a pass.
Of course, when the truth is, remember, the truth was right-wing media would never report on Trump's shitty poll numbers, and all they would do would be cherry pick the Rasmussen poll every time it came out that was an outlier. So everything that they say is always a spin, always a distortion, always upside down. But I mean, hopefully what we are hearing the last several days is that the Democrats are coming home and they're going out and they're going to get it done. And I just love the fact that in California, they send a ballot to every registered voter in the mail. You don't have to ask for it. You don't have to come up with an excuse as why you can't show up the polls.
You just get it.
They just want everybody to vote if possible, as many people as possible. And that, of course, is the Republican definition of cheating and gaming the system and an unfair electorate that needs to be reined in, right? Because that's universal opportunistic access to the ballot among registered voters. And that's pretty good. I mean, the only thing beyond that would just be to send a ballot to everybody and we would end voter registration. And nobody is really calling for that right now. But California, to me, no pun intended, it is the gold standard for something like that. So you just hope that Gavin Newsom holds his governorship and we don't have to have any excess drama of Larry Elder being the extreme minority, numbers minority governor. And then, Dianne Feinstein falls off a cliff. And next thing you know, Mitch McConnell's the Senate majority leader. And we don't want that. We can't afford that. We're already sweating the possibility of a 7-2 Supreme Court if Stephen Breyer falls off a cliff right now, or if Stephen Breyer waits until after the next election.
And why would
by the way, the next election meaning 2022, because if there's a Republican Senate, then he either has to hang on and hope that there's a Democratic president, or try to go till he's 97. Just
sure. Why would he go ahead and resign now and allow Joe Biden to pick someone? Why would he do that?
Right. Again, not to pick on the founding fathers. They were really good people. I liked them a lot. Good folks.
Good folks.
But they really screwed up in bestowing us a system that is so heavily dependent on acts of God, nature's course, serendipity. You know, the Supreme Court changes hands for the most part because people die. That's a really lousy reason.
Pretty much, yeah.
To have the Supreme Court change its character over years. Not that many of them retire. If they do retire, most of them retire when they're really, really old and really, really infirm. And the fact that, and again, we have to keep doing this way. Why? Because, you know, we've always done it this way, right? It's not possible to change that. But I think the idea of, I think the number that always gets thrown out is 18-year terms. 18-year terms for Supreme Court justices. And if you have 9, then you start to stagger them, okay? You start to make it so that every 2 years, you know, someone has to leave and you get a new justice. And therefore, and it's not dependent, you know, on anything but just, you know, time passing and the court changes over time, but not for any specific political reason. So
let's go to Bobby Lee and Donald John Trump, the former president, saying some things about the removal of that statue in Richmond, Brad.
Yeah. And before we start, I think it's important to note that it's probably been about 4 years or so since we started saying that the Republican Party and Republicanism under Donald Trump it's just the Confederacy, right? Mm-hmm. There's just no difference. It is the Confederate States, and Trump proves it more and more every day, right? Mm-hmm. Every day, and this whole crap that he put out about if Robert E. Lee was running what we were doing in Afghanistan, we wouldn't have lost, right?
Right.
So here you go. Here's exactly what he said. What did he write? Yeah, it would be too much to hope for it to just be right there, wouldn't it?
It would.
It'd just be it would be too much to hope for. You looking?
I am looking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's everywhere, and yeah, here it is. All right. Robert E. Lee is considered by many generals to be the greatest strategist of them all. Mm-hmm. President Lincoln wanted him to command the North, in which case the war would have been over in one day. I like the fact that not only would the North have done better, but it would have only been one day because Robert E. Lee was that good. Right. All right. Robert E. Lee instead chose the other side because of his great love of Virginia. Okay. I like the phrase the other side. Okay. Not the Confederacy, not the secessionists, not those who conspired and fought against the United States of America. It's just the other side, the good people on the other side, because of his great love of Virginia. That's why he did it. He just loved Virginia. That's got to be it. I've never heard that version of Robert E. Lee. Have you?
I actually have heard that. That's like the only time he's ever gotten anything correct in history, but that may actually be overstated as well.
And except for Gettysburg, would have won the war.
Except for Gettysburg.
Okay. You know, except for D-Day, the Germans would.
Except for Hiroshima, the Japanese would have won.
But wait, just think. And I guess now that he's not president, he's kind of even worse.
Yeah. Because
now he's officially, and we've talked about it for 4 years, he's thrown in with the Confederacy, with the secessionists, with the conspirators, with the January 6th people who attacked the United States Capitol and were going to kill senators and congressmen and the vice president of the United States. He's just thrown in with them. Now, even though the Confederacy never made it to Washington and didn't invade the Capitol,
they kind of
like
did.
the people on January 6th did, right? I guess there's some hope. And I have bad news. Based on his record, President Trump, if the January 6th people who attacked the Capitol had Robert E. Lee as their leader, they probably would have not gotten as far as they did, right? They would have been stopped, 500 feet. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there. I see what happened there. That's good.
But he should be remembered as perhaps the greatest unifying force after the war was over. I want you to think about this. Donald Trump, who is now being remembered and being experienced as the greatest divisive force ever in the history of the country,
right
after his presidency, as opposed to Robert E. Lee after the war. If the irony isn't dripping through my voice and off my face, I don't know what would. So Trump says he should be remembered as perhaps the greatest unifying force after the war was over, ardent in his resolve to bring the North and South together through many means of reconciliation, and imploring his soldiers to do their duty in becoming good citizens of this country. Excuse me, is there some kind of fucking anvil that can drop on my head that says hypocrisy, lack of self-awareness, beyond belief? But just think of that. And it's true. Robert E. Lee, after the war, right? He was like, to make a more modern reference to it, he was a great ex-losing conspirator against the United States of America. He did as good as you could do, right? He did. So as Jimmy Carter is considered to be not a great president, after his presidency was over, he has put together a 40-plus year record that may be unmatched ever in American history by any ex-president. So good for him. But here's Donald Trump, less than a year after being out of office, and has not done one positive thing. Not one positive thing. He hasn't even planted a tree at Mar-a-Lago to help with climate change. He hasn't done anything. He's only divided the country. He's only attacked the union. And I guess we always have to pull back and go, the base loves that. The base loves Robert E. Lee. And the base is really upset that they pulled down that statue in Richmond. And even worse, they murdered him. They cut him in half. Did you see what they did? They cut him right on the waist in half so they could move the statue.
They cut it in pieces. They cut it in pieces, which I think is my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah. They dismembered him. All
right. So which has fired up the base more? Like the Robert E. Lee statue has fired up Trump's base, or like the abortion thing in Texas firing up the Democrats' base? Which has been more firing up to the base?
The abortion thing is a much bigger deal.
Much bigger deal. Much bigger.
And here's the proof. You don't see any Republicans bragging about this. They are running.
Nope.
They are running and hiding.
Nobody wants to own this. Nobody wants to own this at all.
And again, maybe I don't get it out enough, or I don't watch enough, or don't read enough, but I haven't seen the equivalent strung together series of clips of Republican politicians having a mic shoved in front of their face and ask what they think of this, where they then say, I haven't heard about it. I don't know what you're talking about. What are the standard answers they would always give when they couldn't defend Trump on something?
I'm not familiar with it.
I've been in a meeting.
I don't live in Texas. I've been very busy.
Yeah.
I was brushing my teeth. I was flossing. I don't know.
Right. So the Robert E. Lee statue thing is about a 12-hour story. It really is.
At best. At best. Like, does anybody? I mean, is there a Republican in Virginia that goes, man, this is going to really swing that governor's race. This is going to do it. The Republicans are going to just waltz in based on this. I don't think anybody thinks that. I swear to God, if that's how you rile up your base in 2021, you're done.
Yeah, we haven't read about it, and I haven't seen anything. I didn't think till right now. But the guy who's running as the Republican for governor in Virginia, because their governor's race, them in New Jersey are always in that odd year right after a presidential election. So it was 2017, now it's 2021. So Terry McAuliffe is running again to regain his old job. He's favored, and there's a Trumper guy running as a Republican. So I'd like to see if the Republican running for governor in Virginia is going to stand up and throw in with, I will figure out a way to get the Robert E. Lee statue reinstated the same time we're getting Trump reinstated as president, or something crazy like that.
No, it'll be the 9/11 standard for the Twin Towers. We're going to build them back and build them bigger. We're going to have another statue of Robert E. Lee, and it's going to be way bigger. It'll be made out of gold and diamonds and all this shit. It's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, and we're going to, by the way, we're going to put it up on top of a mountain, right? And we're going to declare it a state park. And we're going to build a resort.
USA. Patton Oswalt and the vaccine refuseniks. There's the story. Patton Oswalt canceling shows in Florida, Utah after venues failed to comply with his COVID requests. The comedian said that an actor said the venues would not agree with his request that attendees show proof of full vaccination or a negative COVID-19 test. By the way, that's not the highest standard. I don't find, Brad. I don't think that's really a tough thing that he's asking for here.
Well, wait. In fact, you're right. That's now going to be a lower standard than what we're going to see out of President Joe Biden today. He's going to say none of this COVID test in the last 48 hours or a vaccination to continue working for the federal government. Patton Oswalt says, I'll stay a little bit loose here. A positive result, which is a negative. You don't have the COVID virus within the last 48 hours, or a vaccination card with proof. So he's being easier than that. So here's what I think, and I'm glad Biden is doing that. And by the way, all the things that we think that Biden is going to talk about on Thursday, which you probably heard about by now, including that, and we can go to some of the other things that he's going to be talking about if we need to. But I really think, and I hate to give Trump credit for anything, as you know, because everything you give him credit for, chances are pretty good there's inside the nougat of your can is there's shit inside, right?
Yeah, the shit nougat.
Right. So the shit inside of those daily briefings that they were doing at 5-6 o'clock Eastern time for month upon month, they were dreadful because of the content, because of the lying that Trump did, and because of the intimidation that was heaped upon Dr. Birx, and even Dr. Fauci had to tap dance his way through those. And so you got this mixed message and the insanity out of Trump, and the bleach and shove light up your ass and it'll solve it. And no, I'm not going to wear a mask because it would look, all those things. But and later on, Scott Atlas was at those. Remember Dr. Atlas, that guy? But I think that the Biden administration would be well served to bring those back with people that we know, that people that are trusted now. You're not going to have the crazies up there anymore lying about how to, because it does focus your attention. It did get our attention, good or bad, mostly bad, but I don't think that's a bad thing to be a bit more regular with updates. And we like to watch the telethons on TV for one reason alone: to see the numbers go up. To see the thing keep going higher. And if every day we can go from 180 million to 182 million people vaccinated, people dig that. I think they do. And I think that's a vacuum that they could easily fill that too. They really, really could. And Joe Biden does not have to be there at all most of the time, very seldom. But as a result of that not happening, you have this build to today, which is Thursday, where, oh my God, what's he going to do at 5 o'clock? And you make it a bigger deal than it needs to be, because these measures that they're going to be talking about, including the, all federal workers getting vaccinated, and how they're going to coordinate the third shot or the second shot if you're Johnson and Johnson, which, by the way, to quote someone, nobody talks about that. Which is unfair to the it is unfair to the Johnson and Johnson. It's not very many people. It's only 12 million. I mean, it's a fairly large number of people.
12 million people.
They don't ever get included. You ever notice that? Whenever they're talking about this, they just don't exist. It's like they're Afghan translators. We're just going to forget about them.
You might recall that when they first launched Johnson & Johnson, they said because it didn't need the super cold storage, they were going to put it out to populations like homeless folks where they didn't need, so they could get it to them easily and not have the cold storage. And then there was some thought that some people would think that the vaccine was going to be lesser than Pfizer and Moderna. You remember this? This was kind of the discussion that the public might think that it's a lesser than vaccine.
Right. But as you know, everything that we always think at the beginning of something never turns out to be true,
right?
AKA Afghanistan. And with the Johnson... And with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, yes, it didn't need the same kind of tender, loving, cold storage care that the other two did. But it turns out that wasn't as big a deal as we thought.
It wasn't.
Because, as you know, the other two are fairly ubiquitous also.
Right.
And so...
and they didn't need the super cold storage that was thought immediately. And the Johnson & Johnson, the efficacy of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was just fine.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Right. And, but again, and this is a statistic I have not seen. Tell me if you've seen it. Tell me if you've heard about it. Wouldn't you like to know right now, among breakthrough cases, what percentage of breakthrough cases of any age, got which particular vaccine 6, 7, 8 months ago? It's a fair question.
It'd be interesting to trace that. Yeah.
It's the old, it doesn't prove anything, but what if? I mean,
but then the side that doesn't like vaccines is going to be like, well, they don't want those statistics out there. That proves that big pharma is in control of this thing.
Britt,
blah 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 blah.
Have you farted in the last month at least once?
I think I have. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's proof that the vaccines don't work. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what happens. They're going to say that's proof the vaccines are worthless, and I'm not going to get one. It does not matter.
And going back to Patton Oswalt himself, you might remember a few years ago that his wife died very, very suddenly. And for his own personal protection, he might not want to make his daughter a full orphan to lose her father as well for his own personal protection. So you could probably forgive him for being just a little bit cautious about, these venues and such.
Well, I generally agree with you on things, but I would say that you don't have to be a widower.
You don't, but it also is
not want to die to make your child.
It is. I think part of the story. It is a kind of part of the story is that when you've seen your wife die right before your eyes, very suddenly, and you've had to tell your child that your mother is not coming home, you may have a little bit more pause about also killing off your father, needlessly. I would add.
I know, but here's the problem. It shouldn't take that for all these people who haven't been vaccinated.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't be. Well, look at this guy. His wife died 4 years ago of something else, so he wants to be. No, that's not the reason.
Well,
that's not the reason. You're just an ass if you don't get it. How about that?
It shouldn't take Tom Brady falling over dead for NFL to go, hey, maybe we shouldn't be stacked on top of each other and breathing on each other 24/7 during these games. Maybe we shouldn't do that. But that's essentially what it would take. And I don't even know if that would be what it would take. If Tom Brady dropped dead, or if Ndamukong Suh, like one of the big stars in the NFL, just keeled over, I don't even know if that would change things.
I don't think it would.
Yeah.
I just don't think it would. I mean, you've seen the interviews. Yeah. You've seen them, never on Fox, but on the other channels, where they will talk to people, and they will talk to people who, just like Patton Oswalt, lost a spouse, not from something 4 years ago, but lost a spouse 3 months ago from COVID. Are you going to get a vaccine? Man, I don't think so. I don't know. I might. Hang on. got to put my teeth back in my mouth.
And I just they had this piece. I can't find it now, but CNN did this piece where they went to one of those bumfuck counties in Missouri, and they're talking to people. Yeah, and
I know what you're talking about.
He goes, and the guy literally says, "I'm not putting that shit in my body," Well, he might be sucking down on a Marlboro Light or something like that, but he's not going to put it. And they go around and they talk to people, and it's such a foreign, controversial thing. This vaccine is so wild.
I think they made a mistake. They should have said, "Wait a minute, you drink moonshine?" Well, we know what's in moonshine. We make it, so we're pretty sure it's good.
Yeah, Clem.
By the way, no one's ever died from a bad batch of moonshine.
Oh no one's ever died.
It's FDA approved, isn't it?
Yeah, no one's ever died or gone blind or any of that shit. It's always fantastic. All right,
God,
that'll do, pig. That'll do.
That's it.
Enjoy your weekend. Stay dry. We're back at you on Monday.
That's it. We'll see you then.